Hi, Prashant. Okay, quickly introducing you to our audience. Prashant would be speaking about XYZ scaling, again about microservices. I think microservices being vastly being used and being implemented across the industries. This is one of our often spoken topic about. Well, XYZ scaling is something new for all of us, I guess. Prashant is working as a delivery manager for enterprise performance testing and engineering services for financial services. He has also worked on retail, CPG, logistics accounts worldwide. Currently working with Cognizant. We would love to hear you talk about XYZ scaling, Prashant. Over to you. I think you can present your screen.
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, we can see you, hear you, and yes, we can see the slides too.
Excellent. There's a lot of
Sorry, I didn't get that.
some echo is happening. Speaking.
Okay, is it better now? We can hear you clear.
Yeah. Okay. So just to add to that introduction, thanks Deepthi for the introduction. Just to add to that, I also worked on architecting the National Electronic Fund Transfer, which was one of the prestigious payment system which was launched way back in 2007. Okay. So we use in our daily any of the fund transfers which happen in India. Okay. With that, quickly move on to the slides. Sorry if it looks a little boring that we are continuing with the same topic on the microservices. But yeah, this is something which is very, it's a technology erosion which has happened, and most of the enterprises are adopting to it. And there is a lot more emphasis on these particular non-functional testing for these. Okay, let me give a quick context around it, and then we'll talk about the history, why it evolved, and then what are the service providers, especially the Cognizant or the worlds of Infosys or TCS and all that, who do the independent validation of these particular microservices. What are the strategies which we generally adopt so that we, while the technology is something which is paradigm shifting, but we also need to take care of how we validate these systems very with a rigor there. Okay, so coming to the context of it, if you look at the 90s, most of the applications, enterprise applications, were on monolithic architecture. While we know what that monolithic architecture is all about, it's a single unit. You deploy a client server architecture there into the systems, and it has its own disadvantages, being that it cannot scale to an extent beyond a point, because nowadays, during the 90s, probably the users were pretty tolerant enough. Even if it takes 5 seconds, 10 seconds, probably users used to wait. Now, even if you are using a Flipkart or an Amazon.com, if you don't get the response in a split of a second, immediately the customers might switch and then try to transact on a e-commerce system which is pretty fast. So those are the kind of options the users have. Okay, so considering that, I think the journey of the application, enterprise application, started from monolithic, and it slightly moved towards the SOA-based architecture, which is slightly loosely coupled or coarsely grained services which are being used there. Okay, and over and above it, I think the shift was still progressing, it moved towards the microservices. There are certain service characteristics which are very common in nature if you look at a SOA based or a microservices, but the microservices comes with a lot more advantages. We'll talk about it a little later when we talk about the testing strategies and all that stuff. Okay, but coming to the monolithic, okay, why we had to shift from it? It is more on the scaling issues. You had the operational agility was a missing part there, and also the developers, no one knows the big picture of it. If something goes wrong, everyone has to be hooked into the system to fix that particular availability issues as well. Okay, and also on the rapid development of rapid prototyping of the features and making it available is also a challenge in the old days. So this is the little bit of a context to the microservices and its evolution. The second part is on the early birds, okay, who adopted to it. If you look at 2007s and 8s, okay, where the entertainment media was really coming into the onto the market, okay, Netflix was one of the pioneer in it, okay, and they were using the monolithic architecture there, and they were struggling to have the video streaming happening, and there were a lot of issues which resulted in catastrophic availability issues there, which resulted in users not able to enjoy or watch the movies or whatever the live streaming which used to happen there. Okay, and that is where they started thinking about, okay, I mean, there is another issue there as well. Okay, let me emphasize that as well. So basically, if an availability issue was coming in, all the engineers across the modules have to step in and look at, am I contributing to the availability issues which the user is facing right now? So that is the kind of everyone has to be logged in, and then they have to spoil their weekends and then work on those maintenance issues, even if it is there, if it is not their problem. That is where they started thinking about how do we make sure some of the disadvantages which is being carried forward using the monolithic architecture as well as the SOA based architecture. That is where they started thinking about how can we have a decoupled architectures which is banked using this microservices. So that's where, because if you look at the huge advantage coming up with it is the heterogeneous interoperability. Okay, it can connect to the mainframes. It is an independent unit which can be quickly developed, and it's very lightweight. You can have certain microservices which have its own database instances. So many varieties of advantages it carries. Okay, that is one side of the coin. But at the same time, because you have so many microservices which are in the enterprise architectures, and also so many versions of one single unit of microservices coming in, it comes with a lot of maintenance issues as well. Okay, that is one advantage, as well as the other aspect is also you need to validate these from a performance perspective, from a functionality perspective, whenever these are coming in, the new versions, at some point you might have 2-3 versions of a single microservice deployed in the system. Okay, which means that if you are building on top of a existing version, you need to make sure that you are not compromising on the previous versions of it, so that the existing users are not getting, existing customers are not getting impacted by it. So those are some of the aspects to be looked at when you do the Microsoft microservices development as well as during the validation of it, be it your functional testing, be it your non-functional testing. I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, this is where we thought through, okay, coming with a XYZ scaling strategy. Okay, I mean, you can check it in the internet as well. You can find out this. It is also been coined as scale cube model. Okay, so what XYZ scaling is all about? If you look at, right, typically if you look, if most of us are familiar with the performance testing and engineering aspects of doing the validation of the applications, we generally do horizontal scalability testing. Okay, what it essentially means is you have a box which has all the capability to host some of the applications, the business logics or the database instances there, and then you start testing it. Okay, till the resources are exhausted, maybe or it start hitting the tipping point, maybe around 80% or so. Okay, which means that, hey, I've tested these microservice. Okay, I'll take a simple example. I don't want to complicate it. If you take a simple microservice which makes a login attempt, okay, and you are trying to test it, you are trying to test with 500 concurrent logins, okay, and it is going up to, let's say, 80% CPU utilization, which means that you're almost there. you don't have any headroom to test further, and that is where you might start looking at adding more nodes to it, so that you can test for another 500 users on a different node. So this is what you're calling it as horizontal scaling, okay, where you are adding one more, you linearly add more nodes to test the functionality, what you decide to test it, and make sure that the validation is taken care, your scalability is taken care as you linearly increase the users, and the response time is still intact with what you look for. This is what the horizontal scaling or a x-axis scaling is all about. Now, the y-axis scaling, okay, this is more important and the little a game changer or something which is some traits of tricks which we use here. Okay, I will take an example, again, a business problem or a business context here. If you look at, right, we all log into some of these internet banking sites, okay, like let's take an example of ICICI Bank, okay, you log in, you do a lot of functionality, functions there. You perform a lot of functions. You log in, you might place a checkbook request, which might be a non-financial transaction. You also might check your mini statement, or you check your balance, and then you do a fund transfer. Some of them, these are like a financial transactions, which are need to be honored by the bank in a specific time frame. Okay, login probably they can take up to maybe 1 second. Probably mini statement, probably it has to complete because it's just an inquiry kind of a page. It should not take more than 500 milliseconds. Whereas your fund transfer, because it does a lot of CRUD updates, create or a update or a delete kind of a modification basically. So it does a lot of things there. Okay, so probably it might take another 200 milliseconds more. Maybe if we add up to the login, it might go up to 1.2 seconds. Considering this context, okay, what I am trying to do here is, if you navigate from a login to a checkbook request to a mini statement to a fund transfer or a beneficiary additions or what, so many things are there, right? So each invocation which might result into a invocation of a servlet or whatever the Java technology or whichever is the .NET technology which the bank is using, right? So there is whenever you click on a link, it traverses through the server with a specific URL, and it has certain attributes when it sends that request. Okay, like for example, login is pretty important. Okay, so which means that whenever login happens, it has to honor whatever I mentioned, right? 1 second within which it has to be honored. So accordingly, you route that request to a specific container which might be deployed on a specific EC2 instance or a physical servers which are high-end in nature. Okay, and that is one way to look at it. The second way is also, if you have once you have logged in, you might be doing a checkbook request. Checkbook request is not such a critical transaction. Okay, maybe, or you wanted to send a mail to or a notification to your relationship manager in the bank. Okay, so in that scenario, this is not a financial transaction. Obviously, it can tolerate a little bit from a performance aspect of it. Okay, so that is where we try to divert that particular functionality to a different server and make sure that your SLAs are still being met to 1.2 seconds or 1.5 seconds, so that you can divert the traffic based on the financial transactions or the non-financial transactions. Okay, this is what is the Y scaling is all about. Now, again, I just want to split this into two here. One is on the noun-based functional decomposition. The other is the verb-based functional decomposition. We all know what that English grammar is all about. When you say noun, okay, you can frame it to or map it to a retail user or a corporate user or some sort of a conventional way of making it, okay, a retail user or could be a corporate or a relationship manager of the bank. Based on the user functionalities, okay, it will divert the traffic. That is one strategy which we adopt in the testing. The other aspect is the verb based. When I say verb based, based on the functions you are trying to perform. Okay, so login is one such function, right? Verb is, all, I don't need to explain about the English, but you know it, right? When you say verb is like an activity which you are doing. Okay, if someone is performing a function of a login, or if someone is trying to add a beneficiary, if someone is trying to do a checkbook request, or trying to do a fund transfer there, these are some of the verb-based functions which the user might be doing. Based on the kind of traffic, based on the kind of decomposition, functional decomposition, I will divert the traffic to the respective service and validate within those SLAs on those particular servers whether the performance is intact, whether the resiliency part of it is intact, whatever the non-functional non-functional requirements are there are being honored or not is what I'm going to slice and dissect that particular whole functionality and then test it. This is what is the Y scaling is all about. Now, the other one is on the Z scaling. Okay, this is more about, I'll take an example. Okay, the same internet banking site itself. Okay, as an retail user of the bank. Okay, I have my own personal account and I'm trying to log into the specific internet banking site of ICICI and then trying to do the transactions. So for me, bank is I have a relationship with the bank as a retail user. Okay, there ends my story there. But I'm also let's take an example of I'm an employee of Cognizant. I work in an accounts team within that. So I look after a lot of financial related transactions which happen from the company towards because I maintain the ICICI accounts for all the employees in that organization of Cognizant. Okay, so I have more privileged functions to be performed. Okay, that is where I'm logging in as a corporate user into the internet banking. Okay, so which means that the SLAs might be varying because if I log in as a retail user, Prashant is logging as a retail user, probably the tolerance level could be going up to for a login maybe around 1 second. Okay, but when it comes as a corporate user, because I might be logging as a corporate user and I might have so many accounts when I try to log in, it might fetch in. So it should not not deprecate, but rather degrade my performance. So rather it should improve further. Okay, instead of giving it in 1 second, it should give me in maybe around 700 milliseconds itself. Okay, the reason I'm telling this is the sharding, the Z-axis is all about data sharding. What it means is it is similar to the horizontal scaling, which is X-axis scaling. But what we do is we put all the cloning of the instances and the bills across the different instances. Some might be put on a very high-end service with a very high compute in the systems, be it a CPU, be it a memory, be it an IO and all that stuff. And at the same time, some of the instances have the same build, but it will be on a mid-range servers. Okay. If I am logging in as a corporate user, immediately there is a intelligence within the API gateways looking at the headers or the URI requests which are coming in. It will divert to the traffic to those whether hey this guy is a corporate user logging in based on the URL it is hitting the API gateway and then divert the traffic to the high-end service. And whenever I'm logging in as a retail user, you accordingly divert the traffic to the mid-range servers. So that you differentiate the normal subscribed retail user versus a premium access policy set corporate user, so that you can differentiate and accordingly you honor those SLAs to it. So that is where we brought this XYZ scaling strategy, which really takes care of not just doing a conventional performance testing, but also do this kind of a horizontal scaling. Then you do the functional decomposition, which is based on noun or a verb based, looking at the servlets which are coming in and the URLs where you can find those within those headers. Hey, how to differentiate the functionality or the actions the user is trying to perform based on the divert the traffic. And also as part of the Z-axis, you look at Is a premium customer, is a normal regular customer, and accordingly you divert the traffic. This is what is the XYZ scaling strategy is all about, where we test the functionality to all the extents to make sure that all these, not only we are doing the independent validation of the solution, but also we are taking care of some of these business dynamics which are erupting in the market within no time. Okay. I just want to take a business context and then talk about it. If you take, I'm sure most of the folks who are working on the European clients as well as on the ANZ as well, we all might be familiarized with the open banking, right? There is so much of work happening in the fintech companies. Okay, when I say fintech companies, if you look at in the UK, you have 10x. Okay, what this is, if you see on the screen, right, you have a TPP here. Okay, third party provider. You have a customer. Okay, if you take the example of a customer, if Prashant is having accounts in ICICI Bank, he has an account in HDFC, he has an account in SBI. I don't need to log into each of these sites, but rather look at a holistic view of my entire banking portfolio and show it on the TPP itself. Okay, hey, you have these many accounts across the consortium of banks, and these are the balances you have across these, and this is your portfolio, whether it is in a negative, positive, whatever is the balance it is showing up, and accordingly you can use it to make certain business decisions to do any of your day-to-day activities. Okay, this can be attributed to a normal regular customer as well as to a enterprise customer as well. So in this whole process, right, there is a lot more activities happening because as a TPP, okay, as a fintech, I will coin it as fintech. Okay, this fintech will develop a Jazzy UI. Okay, and it consumes the services which are exposed by these banks. If you see here on the rightmost corner, you can see that there is a bank one, bank two. Okay, and these banks probably they will expose their services. Okay, to these particular, I mean, service. When I say services, these are could be a microservices which are exposed over the internet on the cloud. And let's say you have bank one and bank two, both have been exposed there. Okay, on the internet and the cloud. Now, as a TPP, through the TPP, the customer is trying to access it. If, for example, the bank one microservices functionality where it is trying to fetch the balance and then show it on the TPP user interface is extremely fast. Okay, which means that I mean the user experience is pretty good. However, for example, there is another bank which is the microservices performance is not so great. Okay, eventually your fintech user interface is going to be get impacted, obviously, right? Because you are showing a consolidated portfolio on the user interface. For customer who is actually accessing the fintech UI might not be caring about the underlying microservices which are exposed by bank one, bank two. Hey, bank two performance of the microservices is not so great. He's not caring about it. Okay, so this is where the user experience really matters there. Okay, so we need to make sure that when you test it, okay, you take care of all these aspects when you do a bank of consortiums along with a fintech and with the microservices, how you do independent validations both at a component level and also end to end. Make sure that these are being tested from all those XYZ scaling perspective, and make sure that your the user interfaces which is front-ending the customer is not been compromised, both from a resiliency point of view, also from the performance or from a scalability point of view. Yeah, so I think we will leave next 5 minutes for the questions. I'm done with my presentation. Folks,
Great.
if you have any questions.
Yes. It's nice that you explained very well about scaling. I think my voice is echoing, no?
Let me put myself on mute.
Yeah, thanks for clearly and in detail explanation about XYZ scaling on microservices. Audience, if you have any question, you can put it up on the chat. While I had a couple of questions for you, Prashant. In the current business scenario with microservices being implemented, how have you seen XYZ scaling, being accepted by people? Because microservices is also beneficiary and also tough to maintain. So do you see XYZ scaling, mattering anything in that front? You're on mute, Prashant.
Yeah, I'm just unmuted myself. Yeah, if you see this right, as I was saying, going back to that ICICI Bank website itself, right? See, there are certain non-financial requests. Okay, if I am logging into the ICICI Bank and trying to do a checkbook request for myself, okay, so during the peak hours, okay, so obviously if something goes wrong, okay, it is not happening. That's okay, because okay in the sense like the tolerance level could be still reasonable, okay, but if someone is trying to, if Deepthi itself is trying to do that critical business transaction where she wants to transfer some 5 lakhs or this thing, that can't go wrong because that is something which is financial. Okay, obviously the banks also need to look at from that aspect. Okay, that is where, because every microservice will not serve the same functionality, and checkbook has its own traffic to and its own microservice to take care, and also the fund transfer also has a different microservice to handle. So these are two different microservices going in. Obviously, we need to make sure that I'm not going to take care of same kind of a validation for both. It has to be little different there. Okay, that is one aspect. Second is also I mentioned about the regular customers versus the premium customers. Okay, obviously as a retail user, I'm logging in. Probably the maybe I can tolerate up to maybe 1.5 seconds. But if I am logging in as a corporate user of Cognizant into the ICICI Bank, okay, I might have hell lot of accounts there, okay, and it is trying to pull out all those when I pull out all those account information when I try to log in, and it cannot compromise because I have 150 accounts to be fetched from the ICICI banking database and then show it on the dashboard. Still, it cannot be compromised from the performance aspect. This is where the premium based policies need to be really honored to, and that is where the enterprises do spend a lot of do a lot of investments into these and make sure that they adapt and consume these kind of a validation services too.
Okay, thank you. Also, another question, can this x-axis, y and z-axis be interchanged?
Yes, of course. I mean, that is the beauty of your this thing, right? You can do all the three combinations as well. Okay. So yeah, if you look at, see, typically if you do all our testing today, we are all investing our time on the x-axis. Okay. You test for 100 users, and if the resources are exhausted, then on the limiting server, and then you try to add one more server and then step up the load by another 100 users. That's how we do the horizontal scaling. Yes, you can, to answer in short to your question, yes, all are interchangeable.
Okay. And will the approach also change in some way, maybe in the scaling and the handling part of it?
Yes, yes. The beauty is API gateway itself has we have to, strategy should be aligned considering the load balancers which we use, the API gateway, which is the entry point into the microservices world. We use those as a strategy to pump the load, to identify if it is a functional decomposition, I was saying, right, noun based or a verb based, depending on the kind of a retail user or a corporate user, depending on the kind of functions they are trying to invoke via the URLs, you have the mechanism within the API gateways to identify what sort of a request is coming in into the system, into the corporate network, and accordingly you can divert the traffic and do that activity.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prashant, for very gracefully answering my questions. We had a great time hearing you out. Just give me 1 minute while I can present my screen. Yeah, thank you so much. It was really exciting to know about, the XYZ scaling. At least this was a new concept for me. I'm sure audience also loved listening to it. Thank you once again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.